The American people liked election a lot, but the Trump, who lived in the White House, did not. It could be he didn't like doing his job. After all, he's a paunchy and slovenly slob.
Morbidly obese, they say.
But we all know the most likely reason of all is just that his hands were 2 sizes too small. He was warned to prepare for what the Trump called Kung Flu.
I'm declaring a public health emergency over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
So he spent 2020 hating the WHO. They're absentee voting, he snarled with a sneer. November's election, it's practically here. They'll get healthcare and schooling and more rights for women. Then he made that dumb face like he'd sucked on a lemon. They might even get houses instead of their shacks, and more compensation for breaking their backs. They'll bang their zangoozles and clang their fart strudels, and then they'll all rigorously play with their noodles. They'll throw their bid fiddlers and blow their kid diddlers. They'd suck their holdy flappy folds and lick their flappy foldy holds till they all get big blisters. Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Trump got a wonderful, awful idea. I know what to do, the Trump laughed in his throat. I'll use that dumb virus to fuck up the vote. The Blues vote from home so the nation can heal. But his folks vote in person because they don't think it's real.
Are you going to allow the government to tell you you have to wear a mask?
He thought of a plan, one that just wouldn't fail. I won't defund police, I'll defund the mail. And if folks try to stop me, I'll put them in jail.
What is going on?
We need to know.
Who are you?
Where are you taking?
You're a mean one, Mr. Trump. You really are a fool. There's no plan for the pandemic. You want children back in school, Mr. Trump.
Science should not stand in the way of this.
You're an orange autocrat with a tiny white toe. You're an asshole, Mr. Trump, and such a fucking prick. You put Mexicans in cages, you think running makes you sick, Mr. Trump. Your wife wouldn't touch you if you had Christopher Hemsworth's dick. All I need is an army to keep the streets quiet. I'll find peaceful protest and call it a riot. If I can't find an army, I'll make one instead. I'll put skinheads in tank tops and call them the feds. I must have a rally. I don't care what they say. I must have one at once. And he went on his way. He held unsafe rallies with his new dire warning, mail-in voting is bad, and there's no global warming. Here's what to do if you want us to grow. The post office, said Trump, is the first thing to go. The Trump said to
trust me.
He's appointed by God.
When you do mail-in voting,
said the Trump,
you're asking for fraud.
He threw doubt on safe distance. He threw doubt upon masks.
They want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door.
He got all the Trump trumpets to do all the Trump asks. He points to reporters.
Look at all those press back there.
And the place fills with boos. They don't like mail-in voting, and they hate the fake news. You're a douchebag, Mr. Trump. Your haircut is bizarre. You've got all the arrogance of a bipolar hip-hop star, Mr. Trump. Given the choice between the two of you, I'd take the bipolar hip-hop star. He moved on to Phoenix to further his plans while his goons grabbed protesters and threw them in vans.
How are we supposed to know you're not kidnapping us?
He told them the post office is just a scam. It's hemorrhaging money. Why, the whole thing's a sham. Let's make the mail private, he said with a boast, and we became the one country without national post. You're a rotten, Mr. Trump. You're the king of stupid thoughts.
I'm like a person that has a good,
Your
you-know-what.
heart's a masturbation splotch where hookers piss on cots, Mr. Trump.
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy.
Your soul is a freakish eyes wide shut party, bulging with the most depraved and covetous assortment of unpleasant, underage sex traffickers imaginable, bungled up in Fumble Trump Plus. While he told everybody that his plan wouldn't fail, by the end of September, they stopped getting their mail. Before very long, his last rally was over. Everyone was confused, and nobody was sober. Then he grabbed his ball whistle and his Dusseldorf too, and here's where Dr. Seuss gave up halfway through. He flipped on Fox News with his tiny doll hands and sat back to watch the results of his plans. But this sight wasn't sad. These people were glad. Every blue down in Blueville, the large and the stout, said they'd all risk their lives to vote his ass out. He puzzled and cussed, called Pelosi a whore, then he drank with 2 hands and puzzled some more. Then the Trump thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe swindling the country takes a little bit more. He said the vote was a fraud, and his flock all agreed. So he stayed in the White House and had the front door rekeyed. He hid in the bunker and blocked all the doors. But his own hired goons removed him by force.
Who are you?
The world was relieved that the Trump hadn't won, but he'd broken the country. The damage was done. But they tried Trump for treason. They tore down his wall. Turns out he's not above the law, after all. The whole world knew that they'd put him away, but his whole butthole grew 3 sizes that day.